Hare Krishna, devotees. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Welcome to the morning class, morning discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we will be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 19th chapter, which is the last chapter of first canto, and verse number 15. So I'll begin with the prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadadi Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurau Shivatapada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhayascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Deshe Tarine. Okay, so I will share my screen. We will read the verses. Tammopayatam pariyantu vipra Ganga cha devi dhritachitamishe dvijopasrishtah kuhakastakshako va dashatva alam gayata vishnu gataha. Once again, tam mopayatam parityantu vipra Ganga cha devi dhritachitamishe dvijopasrishtah kuhakastakshako va dashatva alam gayata vishnu gathaha. Synonyms or word to word meanings. Tam, for that reason. Ma, me. Upayatam, take shelter of. Pratiyantu, just accept me. Vipraha, O Brahmanas. Ganga, Mother Ganges. Cha, also. Devi, direct representative of the Lord. Trita, taken into. Chittam, heart. Ishe, unto the Lord. Dvija upasritaha. Dvija upasritaha, created by the Brahmanas. Kuhaka, something magical. Takshakaha, the snake bird. Va, either. Dashatu, let it bite. Alam, without further delay. Gayata, please go on singing. Vishnu Gathaha, narration of the deeds of Vishnu. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. O Brahmanas, just accept me as a completely surrendered soul, and let Mother Ganges, the representative of the Lord, also accept me in that way. For I have already taken the lotus feet of the Lord into my heart. Let the snake bird, or whatever magical thing the Brahmana created, bite me at once. I only desire that you all continue singing the deeds of Lord Vishnu. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. As soon as one is given up completely, sorry, again, as soon as one is given up completely unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, he is not at all afraid of death. The atmosphere created by the presence of great devotees of the Lord on the bank of the Ganges and Maharaja Parikshit's complete acceptance of the Lord's lotus feet were sufficient guarantee to the king for going back to Godhead. He thus became absolutely free from all fear of death. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadadi Swapadantikam. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. When will Srila Rupa Goswami, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me the shelter under his lotus feet? So this is a very small purport here, just 3 sentences by Srila Prabhupada. But if we look at the context of this, we heard from devotees how Maharaj Parikshit is taking these reversals and accepting what has come according to its own accord. And based on that, today's discussion, I have chosen the title to be The Ultimate Sacrifice, and we will see how it is so. Sacrifice by Parikshit Maharaj. So we can see, so here Prabhupada is saying that as soon as one is given up completely unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, he is not at all afraid of death. The atmosphere, so that first sentence basically means that one who has surrendered unto the Lord, unto Krishna, he is not at all afraid of death, because then he is above the material conditioning. The fear of death comes due to attachments, due to the material conception of life. When we surrender completely unto the lotus feet of the Lord, that means that we have given up the material conception of life. We have now completely situated ourselves, or whoever is doing that, at the spiritual platform, at the platform of the soul, which is eternal. And once that is that is the platform, there is no fear of death, because it's a complete conviction that we are eternal. Not just conviction, they have realized that, and they are living that, those who have surrendered completely unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they are not afraid of death. It's a practical thing to understand. And in case of Maharaj Parikshit, we can see that things went wrong. And now in our lives, we can see that there can be so many things that can go wrong, right? For example, right now, we are going through a pandemic, which is not something that we want or desire. It is something against our wishes, because it's not conducive to our normal living. So things can go wrong all the time. Pandemic is here. Job situation can change anytime. Our relationships can become sour, or there can be problems in our different relationships that we have. So we can see that so many things can go wrong. And in case of Maharaj Parikshit also, we saw that things did go wrong, in the sense that he is a perfectly situated Kshatriya, and at the same time, he's a devotee. Like I was listening to the class yesterday. He's a Raja Rishi. So he's a king, but at the same time, he's a saintly person. And being a saintly person, we can see those characteristics. So he went to the jungle. He put in a dead snake around the neck of a saintly brahmana, because while he was meditating, he was thirsty. But then while he left and he was on his way back to the kingdom, he had immediately realized what he had done. And we see that in the previous verses in this same chapter, he was lamenting, he was repenting what he had done, and he was wanting some reaction to come so that he can be purified of this activity that he had done. And when he heard the news, the brahmana sent the news to Maharaj Parikshit that his young son, out of immaturity, had cursed him to die in 7 days by the bite of a flying bird, or a snake. Sorry, bird, a snake, not a bird. He took it as a benediction. He took it as instead of a curse, he took it as an opportunity. So that's the quality of a devotee. Now, he could have done a lot of things, we have heard, being himself a powerful king, the most powerful king at that time, being a devotee of the Lord. He could have counter cursed, he could have done so many things. So one of the interesting things that I came across was that after hearing the news, he accepted it. That's fine. But he could have gone back to the Brahmana, which is the normal etiquette, saying that, um, discussing that, I'm really, I apologize for this activity, and please forgive me, and things like that. But he did not do that, because he was aware of the mentality of the Brahmana. He knew that he was also a devotee. And when he sent the message to Maharaj Parikshit, he could clearly understand how much the Brahmana himself was repenting. He was feeling unfortunate that his young son had cursed him. And if he had gone back to discuss this matter with him, even if it was to ask for forgiveness or whatever, it would have just made him feel more miserable. And that is why he did not go back, and he simply accepted. So both of them, they being situated as devotees and as the platform of the soul, or on a spiritual platform, they understood each other. The Brahmana understood that the king had done this as a mistake, or as the Lord's plan. And the king, Parikshit Maharaj, understood that the Brahmana had no intention of cursing him, or he was feeling really bad about his son cursing him. So those were the scenarios. And now, if we look at the sacrifice, so the ultimate sacrifice of Maharaj Parikshit. So one can say that this had come upon him. How can it be a sacrifice? So like we discussed, there can be many things that come upon us. And the different things that we discussed, the pandemic, the job situation, relationship, problems in relationships, etc., etc. Now, there are two ways to react or respond to these situations. One is to fight against them, meaning like, okay, this has been something unjust has been done to me, or something wrong is happening. Let me try to correct it. Let me try to go and fix it. And the other thing is to accept it and take it as an opportunity to improve ourselves. In our case, of course, in our case, we can accept it and take it as an opportunity to improve ourselves. So, based depending on how we choose to respond to situation, it can be either like not accepting and fighting against the situation, or it becomes a sacrifice. So when we accept it and when we let and when we try to improve ourselves, take it as an opportunity, that becomes a sacrifice. And it's very easy to understand. For example, the pandemic situation. The situation is there, and if we don't accept it and go about complaining about it, get depressed, and so that's one way. And the second one is accept it and try to see how we can improve ourselves. So things are not going wrong. Things are a problem for my body and my mind because the pandemic is there, and things are not working the way I want to be. Uh, we are social animals. We are not able to interact with our friends, families, etc., and so many things. We are not able to go on vacations and all the different things. So because we are not able to do that, and if we accept it, that's a sacrifice. Yes, I am able to give up these things, but we must have something higher to be able to give up these things. And those things, if we take up this situation as an opportunity to read more, engage ourselves more in Krishna Katha, in the scriptures, etc., discuss them, that gives us the higher platform, and it becomes a sacrifice. So in case of Maharaj Parikshit, this came upon him and he accepted it, and it became his ultimate sacrifice because this was his death. He was given 7 days to live, and the death will certainly come after 7 days. Like I said before, he had opportunity to counter curse, or to reduce the curse, or to even eliminate the curse. There were so many different ways. He was the most powerful king. He was also a devotee of the Lord, but he chose not to do any of those. Instead, accept it. In fact, in the previous verse, it is mentioned that he's saying that because he was attached, even though he was such a powerful king and a devotee of the Lord, he was attached to his family life. And because of that, he took it as the Lord's plan to bring him out of that attachment. So the sacrifice now, what kind of sacrifice is recommended? So this, I was thinking about this, and it actually goes well into some of the things that we have been discussing in our Bhakti Shastri classes. So in the 17th chapter, Krishna says that the sacrifices can be of 3 types. So in Bhagavad Gita chapter 17, text number 11, he says, of sacrifices, the sacrifice performed according to the directions of the scripture as a matter of duty by those who desire no reward is of the nature of goodness. So here Krishna is saying that sacrifice that is performed according to the directions of the scriptures meaning that what do scriptures recommend according to the Shastra. So that sacrifice is in the mode of goodness, because there can be sacrifices that may not be in the goodness, which we will also read. And then he says that as a matter of duty, meaning a person who does the sacrifice as a matter of duty instead of having a different goal or some other perspective. So when done as a matter of duty, it is also in the mode of goodness. And the third thing is that by those who desire no reward, meaning sacrifice done not to gain something out of it, not to have some material benefit or any kind of benefit. So, which is also similar to as a matter of duty, but it enhances that statement. Then in text 12, Krishna says, but the sacrifice performed for some material benefit or for the sake of pride, O chief of the Bharatas, you should know to be in the mode of passion. So he is now explaining the sacrifice done in the mode of passion when it is done for some material benefit or for pride. We can see that, for example, there when we do some vrata or fasting or we take upon some austerity, it can be done for either material benefit or for sake of pride. So material benefit is examples are, for example, I do some fasting to gain something because I have lost my job or I need some favor. And by doing this, I have heard that, not just heard, but it might be prescribed in the Karma Kanda section of the scripture that it's beneficial for certain situations. So I do it, and that is considered mode of passion or sake of the pride. If I do it, people will look at this and they will glorify me. So that's to hear the glorification of oneself or to feel proud about it. So that's another factor where it could be in the mode of passion. And finally, 13, any sacrifice performed without regard for the directions of the scripture, without distribution of prasadam or spiritual food, without chanting of the Vedic hymns and remunerations to the priests, and without faith, is considered to be in the mode of ignorance. So sacrifice. So basically, this text number 13 means sacrifice in name only. So they just do because they are not supposed to. They do it out of nothing, like without any understanding. They have no understanding of the scriptures. They don't know the recommendations of the scriptures, which is like when we do some kind of a sacrifice or yagya or homa, it is followed by distribution of prasadam to the guests and everyone, to the brahmanas, without chanting of the Vedic hymns. That the Vedic hymns, or in our case, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, or in some cases, the Narshinga mantra, these are chanted. And remunerations to the priests who are doing the yagya, we should give some donation to them. So these, when we don't do all of these, it is in the mode of ignorance. Now, this is again reiterated by Krishna in the 18th chapter. 18th chapter also talks or begins with these different activities in the three modes. And in text 5, he says, acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. And text 6, all these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty, O son of Pritha. That is my final opinion. So we can see here that Krishna is clearly saying that sacrifice is supposed to be done, sacrifice, penances, and charity out of duty, not out of wanting to gain something. And that results in purification of the person. So having said that, let's look back at Parikshit Maharaj. He is doing this ultimate sacrifice, which is he's giving up. He has accepted his death, and he has all the brahmanas and the elevated personalities who have come. Elevated personalities is like Prabhupada explains in one of the purports, is same as Krishna coming, because these elevated personalities are representative of Krishna. So Parikshit Maharaj is welcoming them, and he is going to ask many different questions, and ultimately the Srimad Bhagavatam is going to be spoken, which is for the benefit of the benefit and well-being of others in society in general. So that is also one of the sacrifice. When it is done out of duty, it is for the benefit of others or well-being of the others. Krishna also says in the last verse of chapter 5, Suhridam Sarvabhutanam. He's the ultimate well-wisher and benefactor of all living entities. So similarly, devotees also are the are well-wisher, and they are well-wisher of all living entities. In this case, Parikshit Maharaj is wishing well for all living entities, and for that he has taken up this ultimate sacrifice. So to recap, we discussed this verse, and that Parikshit Maharaj has accepted what has come upon him. Instead of fighting, instead of responding in a different way, which he could have done, he accepted it. And by accepting it, it becomes a sacrifice. And how it became an ultimate sacrifice, because it is his final thing, which is the death. And death is the most feared thing for any living entity, and he has accepted it. So that's the final, the ultimate sacrifice. He's teaching us how to take different the reversals by taking them as an opportunity, and how we also discussed the sacrifices in different mode of goodness, passion, and ignorance. And Krishna is recommending that we do penances, charity, and sacrifices in the mode of goodness out of duty rather than for gaining something. And he also gives a reason that it ultimately purifies the person. And finally, the sacrifice that Maharaj Parikshit is doing is for the well-being of all living entities, Suhridam Sarva Bhutanam, meaning that he's doing the sacrifice for the well-being of everyone. Krishna, just like Krishna, the devotees are also well-wisher of everyone. So I think that's all I had to say today. I will open it up for discussion, if any. If there are no discussions, we can stop here.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I want to just thank you for illuminating the nature of how the sacrifice should be done according to the Bhagavad Gita section. That was very illuminating. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Jain Prabhu. Please accept mine too. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah. So, Prabhu, just one question. So when those soul passes away, right, and let's say of, in the family, right, father, mother, grandparents, whatever. Sometimes, there are like family members that are grieving, sometimes for a couple of months, some of them for years. So that process varies. Is there any relationship between whether the soul that left the body had, still attachment to the material life. Is that the reason why? Any relationship, I know souls are different, but I'm just wondering, why. I understand there's karma and all that comes into picture for the suffering, how long, how much each person suffers. But is there any relationship between, the attachment that the soul to the material life that the soul that had departed had at the time of death?
Okay,
Sorry, I know it's a.
So are you talking about the attachment of the relatives who are going through the healing process, or are you talking about the attachment of the departed soul?
I'm talking about both. Is there any relationship? Is it like, is it possible that, I'm talking about both. Is there any relationship between the two?
Is there any relationship? So definitely in most cases when a soul departs, if they have not perfected their life, they are attached to different things, different material life, and based on their yam vapi smaran matva. So Krishna says that according to the thoughts or consciousness that they have developed at the end of their life, they get a new body. So they are, and in one sense, it also means that depending on their attachments, they get their new body. And as far as the mourning relatives are concerned, it's so I can send you a grieving document that His Holiness Ramapad Maharaj had sent, how to deal with grief and in such situations. But in general, the essence is that we understand, we act at the platform of the soul, but we also understand that the person who left, yes, we were attached to that person. So we help grieve, meaning that we have to be compassionate to such people. And if we ourselves are grieving, yes, we have to understand that we have to act on the platform we are. We cannot act on a platform that we are not. But at the same time, we have been given this knowledge. So first of all, comforting the person and people who are grieving and giving them the required need of their. And then gradually, if there is a opportunity, we can, if they are willing to discuss Bhagavad Gita later on, not immediately, because immediately that's not the right time. We can talk about the nature of the soul, the nature of the living entity, and all that. So I'm not sure if that is answering your question, but.
Yeah, I mean, partly. And I also listened to, a non-ISKCON kind of a sannyasi person's lecture sometime last year. And, there was, their perspective was, the soul gets reborn, and then, the longer there's grief, the other soul is not able to settle in the new family or whatever, right? The new life it has taken. So
Okay.
that's another reason why you should not really like be sad for too long. So just another perspective, there's like I don't know how far it's true, but it sounded logical because she said, birth is also it's very tough for the child and the mom and the family, and it takes time, the first few years, right, for that family to adapt and settle. And so, I mean, I just I was just thinking about that.
Okay, understood. Yeah, I understood.
I don't know how far it's
so
true, but it was
that-
something logical. But yeah.
Yeah, it may seem logical, but from the way we understand and the way Srila Prabhupada and the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are so many incidences also in the scriptures. The way we understand is that the soul, after after taking another body or after experiencing death, the soul moves on. Of course, what is on our hand is to pray for that soul, and that prayer can take different forms. It can take the form of sincere prayer for the onward journey of the departed soul. It can also result in doing some Shraddha ceremony, Pinda, and all those offerings, and for the benefit of the soul. So these can be done for the people who are still living. They can do these, but the soul has already passed on, and what the who are left behind, they are grieving. So that is their emotions. That is their they are creating their own karma. That is not going to affect the departed soul, in the sense that it's not that the longer they grieve, the longer the soul will take to take another birth or get their forward journey. Their karma is their accumulation, and what we are doing, or the people remaining behind, what they are doing, it's their own. So in one sense, it is said that one has to fly their own plane. So whatever we are emotions or the baggages we are holding is going to affect those people, not the departed soul.
Yeah, sure, bro. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Okay, so we will stop here. Thank you very much. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Krishna conscious day. Thank you. Hare Krishna.